Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Mike Richmond. I'm an account executive here at Creatio, and I've been helping organizations with their digital transformation for 20 plus years. I'm excited to host today's webinar. We've got a great one for you here today. We're going to talk about the impact, another impact of COVID-19 today on the pharmaceutical industry. We're going to talk about how low code, one of my favorite topics, how it addresses tech challenges and creates digital opportunities within the pharmaceutical industry. So we've got a fantastic hour here to cover. We'll start off with some introductions. And even before so, let me set the agenda for today, because again, we've got an hour to cover and lots of great topics. So after our introductions, we're going to talk about industry transformation during this crisis. We're going to talk about areas of digital opportunities within the pharmaceutical industry and pharma CRM capabilities, another one of my favorite topics. And then we will have plenty of time at the end for questions. So please enter your questions throughout today's webinar in the chat section. I'll be keeping an eye on those questions and we'll talk more about them towards the end. Okay, guys, so for today's exciting topic, we are in fantastic hands. For someone I look up to when it comes to learning more about low code, about the pharmaceutical industry, about CRM, we're joined here today by Sebastian Forget. Sebastian, thanks for joining us here today.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm pleased to join this webinar. Myself, you were talking about 20 years of experience in digital transformation. I'm about the same, so we don't know about, we're probably the same age. So absolutely, and honestly, today I am very excited because there's so much stuff going on in the pharma industry that there's so much content, so I'll try to keep it for the hour. But a little about myself. So I studied engineering, never really practiced engineering, more went on the business right away. Started the Solution Metrics a little more than 15 years ago. And since then, we're having so much fun in CRM. That's the thing we're specialized on. So CRM, digital transformation, marketing automation, low code. So we'll speak a little more about those today, and super excited. And we're working with the pharma for a little more than 10 years, and seeing the different transformation and regulation that's been transformed in the past decade. So really pleased to see and talk about what the next decade will be and how we can support this transformation. So, sorry, here. It looks okay, perfect. So, oh, sorry about that. So a little about Solution Metrics. We have accumulated 20 years of experience. So, you know, we're still a boutique firm, a little more than 50 employees in Montreal, Toronto, and we're now having an office in Guadalajara in Mexico. We've done more than 200 implementation, and a large percentage of them are in the pharma industry. So and covering different use cases for the pharma on the sales side, but more and more on the marketing digital side on how to engage with healthcare professionals as well. Different services. So Solution Metrics, it's a business consulting firm that operates in the CRM and the customer relationship field. So we're really about strategy, achieving business goal, tactics, strategies. We do for sure the the technical side. And as well, we're really good with user adoption and change management. That's something we've became a center of excellence on, because as I always say, those kinds of transformative project, the technology per se is yes, it's one challenge, but the implementation and having everyone embrace the change at the business is also something that could be challenging. So we become expert in that as well. Now, enough of this is not a sales pitch at all, so let's jump right to it. So the world is changing, and we've seen that, and the pandemic we've seen taking an acceleration of the change. I will, when you do some reading, some says that 3, 4, 5 years happen in 18, 19 months. This is true for many industries, and this is more true in the pharmaceutical industry. So there's when the research shows there's 4 trends or major trends that are happening right now and are results of the transformation that happened. So first, 53% of US physicians say, I'm not too sure I want to meet face-to-face. They put some restriction in order to engage face-to-face with sales rep. So, and with every pharma we're working with in the past, since COVID came, some has been struggling with at the early of the pandemic, but put some tactics that we're going to be discussing today in order to continue the engagement with the healthcare professional. But definitely the visits per se, or in pharma, they want to say the calls face-to-face has been challenging. Second is we're also selling to a new generation of doctor. So which is, and I think in every industry, there's a cultural change between generations, right? I tend to believe that in pharma, it's even the cultural change or the way that the good old doctors operate versus the new doctors is really different, really different. I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying it's different. So, they're more tech savvy. They want more. They're really accurate on the number. The way they engage with patient and actually pharma is also different. The other trend is we're starting having more digital conversation which was, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, more difficult. I think it's a good example of the traditional ways of engaging with the pharma stakeholder has really transformed. So from people 10 years ago that were more traditional are now super digitalized in the way they want to engage. So that's another trend. And fourth, but not the last one, is the healthcare professional became also some reluctant in order to embrace new medication. So the education you need to do in order to position your product to the healthcare professional is different than it was 10 years ago. So there's more of clinical study, more of education that needs to be done than it was 10 years ago. For sure, one factor is there's lots of offer now in the market, and like in every industry, the global boundaries or the boundaries that we used to have geographically are put down. So we're a global planet, but there's more effort that needs to be put into the education of the product. So with those 4 trends, here's some stats that are very, very interesting. So so a little more than 15 years ago, in 2005, we had about 101,000 reps in the US. So there's less and less rep. Now it's beginning to pick up again, but there's about 25% of the reps that are not there compared to 2005. What this means is it's not that sales are not important. I believe it's more predominant than it was before. It's just the way of selling is different, meaning that let's say the 10 years ago traditional ways of engaging and meeting with doctor and book I had routes, and then I'll visit those guys in the morning and those guys in the afternoon, is transforming. That's definitely a stats that reflects that. As well, on the other side, the doctor is spending an average 84 hours a year on digital material. So we're seeing more and more pharma doing, and even the pharma that does their R&D, or the pharma that is representing the brands and the molecules in territory, having portal with the doctors or the healthcare professional, where they're going to be personalized engagement through that portal, meaning so they will meet face to face, but they also have the ability for those healthcare professionals to download studies, to consult the knowledge base. We're seeing more and more pharma partnering in doing clinical studies, publishing the results through that portal. So it's really that key industry stats, I think, supports the fact that it's transforming. So that's kind of the conclusion of this. Now, what are the transformations, the key transformations? So I think that's the recurring theme since I'm speaking, right? We understand that the traditional face-to-face meeting or the calls has transformed. Now, a couple of things. First, doctors are more and more solicited, not only on the COVID, where there's a lot of shortage of staff as well in all the clinics and hospitals, but that engagement is face-to-face is a little more difficult. Now, what this does is it also, because they're really patient focused, which that's what doctor loves to do, is to meet patient. So, but we're seeing with the new generation as well, and I really want to measure my word here, not to say that, but they will put, because let's say they don't meet with less rep and less, they will optimize their time, the new generation, to give more time to learn by themselves, self-learning, e-learning, right? So they less want the face-to-face with the rep, the traditional way, but the good news is they are willing to say, okay, give me your material, give me an access, I'll learn, I'll go in, I'll engage with you. When I'm available, I'll let you know. It's a different way of interaction. And as well, the new generation or the new way of doing things also have some clinical and medical guidelines attached to it. So that's, so it transformed from a sales where I need to kind of sales through an education to really, I'm going to support you in your learning, into having more information and knowledge on the molecule that I'm repping. So it's a transformation from sales to education, from being face-to-face to convince, to digital interaction, so you can learn and see what are the benefits of my molecule. So there's a transformation that happened there. And as well, remote healthcare. So so if you see a little French accent, I'm in Quebec, so I speak French as well. In Quebec, in Canada, in the US and Mexico, more and more it's telemedicine. So if you want to have an appointment with the doctor, most of the time, the front line or the first line, you can still walk in, but you know, it's more accessible to do telemedicine. So what happened also, it's delocating geographically the doctors and the healthcare professionals. So you know, in the good old days, 10, 15 years ago, we used to have a doctor 2 days there and 3 days at another location, another clinic not too far. Now, with some of our pharma customer, it could be, and we were also doing CRM for a few telemedicine solution, and some of the doctors that practice in Canada, they do have their license in Canada and they're licensed doctor, but they actually are physically in Brazil, in Argentina, wherever they want. You know, there's no boundary anymore. So the physical face-to-face is becoming really difficult as well. And that's a trend that will only continue. So I think we're in the infancy of telemedicine. There's more and more, and you know, as we read more about it, it makes lots of sense for various reasons. Not saying that it will replace the on-site diagnostic. It's just it's a better journey for the patient. So, and also it optimizes things in the healthcare network, so, and healthcare workers. So that's also a transformation that's happening that impact the way we need to engage with the healthcare professionals. Just as well, if we so what are the different digital opportunity? And honestly, I will spend some time on that slide because I strongly believe I'm not saying Mike and us are Bill Gates of pharma, but we try to really lay out what first Creatio is supporting, the new trends, the technology is supporting, and how in the next 5 years it will look like. So first, there's an omni-channel communication. We talked briefly about the portal. There's more and more, we see chat, we see chatbot, we see, I'm going to speak about AI that helps on the knowledge side as well, but there's really an omni-channel communication. So I'm not meeting the doctor to sell the doctor. I'm meeting with the healthcare professional in order to do more education and which channel they would like to. Pharma needs to be flexible and provide those. So we're talking here intelligent knowledge base about research, clinical study, interaction through chat, be able to, for example, if I have a question on your molecule or the product, I can call in really rapidly. And so omni-channel communication, very, very important. And it's whenever the physician needs it, we need to be there. We need to be there because that's the time to engage. So with them and support them in their learning of the molecule and the product. So data-driven insight as well. So new generation of doctors and not only the new generation, but I'm putting an emphasis on those because they're really data-driven. And we've seen it in many fields, right? And we always say people don't like to be sold. That's even more true now in pharma. For sure, the healthcare professional, they always wanted to see the study, so they're not gonna ingest and take for granted anything we're saying in terms of sales. But it's more true than ever that there's a different way of collaborating with doctor into demonstrating the benefits of the molecule that has changed through an omni-channel as well. And then some real-time responsiveness as well. And I'm going to pause and come back to real-time just to show you or explain a little the graph on the right. So for a long time, it was a pharma and healthcare professional relationship, right? So we had different phases in order to have our molecule, like 5 phases or 4 phases to get our molecule on the market. And then once it's approved, the sales guys goes on the field and they try to push it to healthcare professional. Now, this is how it's been transformed. So it's a love triangle. So we're seeing more and more pharma being able to contribute, nor say lead, some clinical study with some patients that are willing to engage with that new indication. So you're working with your healthcare professional and say, okay, I'm gonna first give you some information, education, proven material on my molecule. And then let's work together to do a small clinical study with few patients you have that you believe that our molecule will be good for them. We'll work together on a small scale and we'll, slowly but surely get you on board. And then they become an advocate of those molecules and serve even as a reference. And then they will be part of some CME as well. So CME, a continuous medical education that we're having. So it's not a two-way relationship, it's a three-way relationship. And we've seen that because that model exists in and some of you are real pharma I'm just a guy in CRM, but for the molecule that we're really for a very specific niche, you always had that kind of love triangle with the patient. And we've seen that model going into more broad molecule as well. And even for the OTC, the over-the-counter, for those products as well, not only the RX or the prescribed product. So that's a trend that will continue. And now, if I'm coming back as a CRM guy, I love it because the customer is not only your doctor, it's also your patient. So it's not only a healthcare professional, there's a relationship that the pharma start to establish post-commercialization into those clinical studies. So that's something that we enable as well. And when we talk about real-time responsiveness, is that's what we mean. We're close to the healthcare professional, we're close to the patient, we're providing the omnichannel communication, we're gathering some direct data-driven insight, and we're making sure in some real-time fashion and in almost like a project way of working with the HCP that they get the benefits of the molecule. And as some of you knows, when you have a head of a department that says yes, that's good, normally there's some a doctor or very trustees and people that are renowned in that field, it will make an impact. So, and again, we're not selling, right? Here it's not the sales, it's almost like we're going to do a project together, right? We're going to do working together in terms of demonstrating, doing some education. So that's a transformation we've seen, and that's a digital opportunity, because what we don't like about traditional CRM, it's still how many people you've seen this week. I've done 10 visits, or 12 visits this week, 6 a day or 2 a day, and those stats they coming predicated, they're coming obsolete a little. That's not how we believe that success. This is not how successful pharma have made it. So we're super excited to speak about that, because again, that's what the study shows, and that's what the early adopters are doing, and that's what they're successful at as well. This is how they can position themselves as thought leadership as well, and say we're going to work together. We're not done trying to sell you. Now, some pharma capabilities, okay, because that's a little theoretical in terms of how the industries go. Now, I'm a practical guy. I like, deadlines, budget, capabilities. So going from strategies to tactics to, execute on those. So here's some known pains for reps right now. So first, they don't have the 360-degree profile of customer. Data entry. So especially in pharma. So we're working multiple industry, but in pharma, because, and again, I don't want to go off prejudice here, but pharma people normally are well-educated people. So the company says, okay, you're going to do lots of data entry because you're capable of. For example, other fields where it's more, people are less inclined with technology. I believe that the educated people in pharma are good with technology, so we rely too much on them to do data entry. And that's a complaint we get from the people in the field that says, you know what, I'm not a good data entry clerk. I will do it because I'm required to do so, but it's very cumbersome. Planning visit in advance and optimize way is complicated, especially with what we just spoke. Mobile app is great. A mobile app that is great. So, so we're Creatio. We know our competition in pharma, and our mobile experience can be not that great. It could be complicated. Almost so that people are sometimes saying, you know what, I'm gonna do the minimum I need to do on my mobile app. So when I get back home, after the kids are asleep, I'll do a second shift to do some data entry in my CRM. So that's a known pain. KPIs as well. So, and we're gonna talk about it, but we understand that the number to reconcile are difficult, the actual versus the budget versus last year. The dollar per cell, family per prescriber, sometimes we all know about the IQVIA data, but even sometimes it's incomplete. And then that's sad, because the CRM, it really becomes what I call a glorified Rolodex. So me and Michael knows what's a Rolodex. So the new guys that doesn't know, it used to be a place where alphabetically there were the A, the B, the C, you put your business card. So this is what it becomes. It says, okay, which doctor, when I've seen it, few indicator, and that's it. Well, it's not what we need those days from a CRM application. So those are our known pains from sales rep perspective. Now, when we do some bottom up versus top down on the executive side, tracking rep activities, because they're struggling because meeting, the KPIs itself, so how many calls you've done this week, is not relevant that much into the performance anymore. So that's also a struggle. Align sales activity with the healthcare professional potential as well. Not only on the prescriber KPI or who prescribed what when, and so it's also align those sales activity based on what we just discussed on the transformative way of engaging with HCP. So again, on the executive side, aligning all the numbers can be difficult. So the budget, the actual, reconcile that by clinic, by FSA, by HCP, etc. We hear a lot as well from the executives say the expense account should be handled by the same application where you accrue the expense. So by the way, that's something that Creatio does, is reconciling the reps expense account within Creatio, because this is where it's while they're organizing CME and doing their activity that they will incur the expense. So it's natural, it should be there. For different reason, it was not, now it is, but that's a complaint or a pain that we know that the executive has. The CME ROI tracking as well. So I believe that in traditional CRM, there's lots of gymnastics that needs to be done in Excel, and some POS data with some data from the distributor and IQVIA in order to get a real ROI. So that was a complaint. I believe we also solved that in Creatio. And a CRM to push quick initiatives. For example, if a competitor product is back order, I want to be able to communicate very rapidly those short-term initiatives. So it's an ad hoc thing that happened today. So those quick initiatives as well. Some of these CRM are so rigid and crafted around a really long-term strategy that it unfortunately stops those quick initiatives or make it difficult in order to be really reactive. So it's platforms that are not so good in those reactive things that we need to do, or quick initiatives that needs to be done. So focus things that needs to be done this week, for example. So again, something we solved with Creatio. Now, what's a CRM in 2021? What's a CRM even in pharma? I call it the Creatio Health Cloud. So what it is in 2021? It's more than just a Rolodex, right? And the CRM that's become just table stakes. So CRM is really the basic of what a pharma platform should be. Yes, the relationship management piece is very important, but it's way much more than that. So it's more as well in the objective of engaging with the healthcare professional is really to know how they want it, what they need, what's his style, what he likes, what he want to do, what he doesn't want to have. So it's really profiling as well. So and once we have that profile of the person, is how we're going to link the data we have, because in pharma there's lots of data, right? We all know it. The problem is not the data. The problem is crunching the data to make it digestive. So in 1 minute, I can know what's going on with my doctor or my healthcare professional. So it's very important that once we know this profile, how the platform can crunch the data into give me how engaged this healthcare professional is. And also, as we know, they all have different personas and personalities. So it's not pushing on the sales side, it's understanding their adoption cycle or their purchasing cycle, some will say, but it's more their adoption, molecule adoption journey, and what stage they are, what needs to happen in order to progress with this healthcare professional. And I appreciate the content as well, and how the digital interaction is with that doctor. That's very, very important, because we've seen the interaction, the digital interaction being transformed into an engagement. So that's one of the goals. And when you cross that with the profile they have, gather all the data, this is where you can have, with the short term they have to dedicate, the healthcare professional have for you, you can make it really, really, really efficient and relevant. So now another thing that is becoming, or is transforming. So territory management used to be simple. So and Mike, you've seen it. So 10 years ago, so here's your geographical zone, here's your territory, you had it. Now territory is very different. It's very different. Yes, it can be geographically delimited, but more and more we're seeing some cross territory stuff, and it's because we on the clinical side they have different requests. So we will see some expert coming into territory. So the commission is complicated as well to calculate, because you can have multiple people involved in the sales, and it's a longer process. So territory management is transformed as well. So and just the we talked about it, the actual versus the potential. So you want to make sure you align your territory as well. So there's a capacity. So aligning the capacity with the territory and the number of reps you have is becoming complicated. So and the pharmacy, we've seen some assignment, co-assignment as well, and make that seen as a unique, because you can have from the same company 2 different people going at the same pharmacy, for example, the same day. So it needs to be coherent and cohesive in terms of engagement as well. So that's something that Creatio does as well. We want to be healthcare professional centric approach, so not only dollars. So yes, this guy's a big prescriber on the doctor side, for example. So I'll go there, as many times as I can. But that's different, because we're going to go based on what's the HCP preferences. So it's not only dollar centered. Same thing for pharmacies. The route optimization as well is becoming, because of all of that, a little complex. So that's something that we solved as well. On the data management as well. So maybe we have some, I know few of those guys registers on this webinar, but we know it, right? So McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen, big distributor called the Big Three. They provide lots of information. You also have your demographic information from Nielsen, for example. You have your POS data, and you can buy also the prescription data and the territory information from IQVIA. So there's lots of sources. Plus, some of our customers, they also get some direct sales. So when you cross your direct sales, your distributor sales, your POS sales, align that with your demographic data plus the prescription data, it's a pretty complex grid to solve. So that's what I'm saying. There's lots of data, a lot. Is how, and that's the challenge we worked on, which is a very stimulating challenge, is how can we take all those data to make it quick information for the reps, right? And the management. On a territory point of view, on a HCP engagement point of view. So so that's something as well that is becoming, that was a challenge. I think we solved it, and we've seen it some platform. It's not there yet. And again, in the mindset of this data, not for necessarily sales purposes, but to better help the engagement with our healthcare professionals. That's the key here. And since we're having the omnichannel experience, we're having the way to communicate on a digital way, it makes it, and plus have a profile, it makes our platform very, very powerful. Now, we cannot do this webinar without speaking of artificial intelligence, okay? First, the AI per se, the different algorithm, loves it when there's lots of data. So which is the perfect case here in the pharma industry. So and what AI is good for in the pharma is support the predictive KPI, the predictive analytics. So a couple of things. First, the customer profile. So AI now, and that's the fun part. And I'm let's say I'm a 6 on 10 on AI. I'm not a 10 on 10. I'm not an expert, but I know the different algorithm and how, because for myself is how we can make this thing AI into practical ways of getting results, right? So on the AI side, gathering, analyzing, processing customer profile. So first, it will, and even we've seen it with some pharma, is by the data you have, let the AI predict what type of profile you have with this HCP. So you will, and the AI can give lots of good prediction on that. Also, what I love about AI in 2021, so 2022, it's relatively quick to implement. It doesn't require costly resources. Why? Because it's a mix of public knowledge with private knowledge. Public knowledge being the knowledge of everything we know on this planet over the web, that most of the machine learning has been done already, plus your private data segment. So when you mix both, it's really cost efficient and really quick to implement. And for a long time, we needed data scientists, and I'm not saying we don't need them anymore. We need them more on building the algorithm. But for guys like us who's looking for results, we don't need a data scientist. We have tools now to actually be able to get the data, get the result from the AI, get the algorithm results without a data scientist. So it makes it really appealing. And for sure, the different data points, it will support what's the next best action to take with my healthcare professional based on my plan, based on my realization, the profile, and the different data points that we just talked also. So so that's really strong about AI. And as well, it's transformative because sometime you will have some of your process. You'll have AI embedded in some of your process as well, meaning you won't go to the next step before you actually validated what the AI predictive result is. So that's what we're seeing, and that's what new platform can do as well. For sure, it makes better data-driven decision and optimize our internal business operation as well. I'm working also, just to give you an example, on it's more on an insurance side. So when there's a new claim from an insurer, the AI will predict how likely this claim is good to go through. Right? So I'm sparing you the detail of the machine learning, etc. And you know what? It's right more than 98% of the time. So you can, for example, when we say external process and internal process, is so the AI goes first if it's, and you can have a second predictive on the 98%, what's the likely to be good based on some context. So if it goes to a junior person, that's, it's a formality of just approving, making, versus the 2% that, let's say it's 2% that it will go through. So 98% is the claim is problematic. You have different staff. So you optimize your resources based on AI. So that's an example of optimizing internal business operation, and so on. So I have lots of examples like this. So I love AI. That's what I love about AI. It really makes an impact, and the machine learning for visits as well. So that's something now that we're training the AI on, is as we're doing calls or visit, even digital or still the face-to-face way, there's a lot of guidance of next steps and recommendation that will come from AI as well. And I cannot, so we need to speak about automation. I know it also sounds like automation is becoming something that it needs to be done. Yes, but First, we talked about low code. So I'm going to give you my own definition of low code. So first, I don't like that much that term, because low code, there's code in it, and the goal of low code is to have no code. So that's so that's my own. But what it does is it gives the ability for the business without the integrator to actually very rapidly improve their software without going through a whole software development lifecycle. So what this gives is, as the business will grow, we can adjust and also add more and more automation without having to do big release or big phases or $1 million project. And what's also I like about this approach of low code is we don't have to figure out all the details and go for scoping for weeks and weeks and weeks before we actually start putting something together to retrieve ROI as well. So we know, and I've been in IM, and I said that at the beginning, I'm an engineer, I've been in IT for a long time. I've done $1 million project, and the $1 million project we're doing now it's lots of smaller projects. And just to conclude on the low code, it creates value faster, because it creates value faster for the customer. And I'll say as a joke that at Solution Metrics, the customer is not king, the customer of our customer are king. For sure, we're our customer are king still, but so we're creating value for the customer. We're also creating value for the business because we streamline the process, and ultimately creating value for the shareholders so they can reinvest into getting more customer. So that's the circle we're looking for with and that's what low code enable. So and also, as automation is one thing we can do with low code, but the seamless automation we can do, it's really cost efficient. Doesn't require that much maintenance as well. And segmentation is a good example. So we talk about segmentation and analysis of the data. So you always want to be more savvy. You always want to micro segment, micro profiling. So that's something that the automation will do. And as well as we automate the process, we're becoming more efficient. We create value for the business, and we're also creating less error on the human side. So on that, I speak enough. I could go for a long time, but Mike, speak about Creatio and how great this platform is, so people can understand that what I just spoke about, it's not a dream, it's not something that I would like eventually to be done, but that's something we can do with a platform, and we've done with a platform like Creatio.
Thank you, Sebastian. Yes, you're on a roll there. Great topics. Thank you. And as a reminder to everyone attending, please submit your questions. I see some are coming in. We'll address some questions. Indeed, Sebastian, you're on a roll. Thank you for helping us understand more about these important challenges and topics. But we're not here just to focus on challenges. We bring solutions. I mentioned earlier that these are some of my favorite topics. Again, I'm an account executive here with Creatio, and on a daily basis, we talk to organizations that recognize that COVID did introduce an environment of change. That's one thing we can all agree upon, is change happens. So here at Creatio, we help organizations navigate these turbulent times. Creatio is a global organization. We've been growing for 18 years. We've got customers all around the planet. So we've gotten industry analyst recognition. I'll talk more about it. But here at Creatio, we do create a world where everyone can automate business ideas in minutes. Okay, we know that's a bold statement. We talk about it all day long. The common theme here at Creatio is simplicity and speed. These are common themes around the Creatio technology. And when we talk about Creatio, we deliver a complete 360-degree view of a customer's journey on one single low-code platform. We have applications native that encompass marketing, automation, mass communications through those segmented audiences that you were talking about, CRM, automating sales processes, automating the process of generating revenue, case management, service, and support. These are three important components within your customer's journey, all on one native. And when we talk about a low code platform, this is the simplicity. This is the opportunity for business users that may not have an extensive IT background to take ownership of their processes and have the ability to make change and automation to those processes on their own. And then of course the marketplace is the future proof. When more change happens and you need additional apps down the road, we've got you covered through the marketplace. So again, these are some of our favorite topics that we talk about on a daily basis. As I go to the next slide here, I mentioned that industry analysts have been enjoying their evaluation of Creatio. As recent as 2021, Creatio remains a leader in the segment for sales automation as well as marketing automation. So this is a great pat on the back for Creatio, but for our customers, it's great for them to know they're dealing with an organization that's got a positive track record when it comes to our product's vision and our ability to execute on our product vision. So again, great pat on the back. And as the analysts review Creatio, they've learned about our happy customers, and this is what skyrocketed us to the leader quadrant, is the fact that we create long-term successful partnerships with our customers as we talk about navigating digital transformation, automating business processes, making sense of the data in rapid time. That whole velocity to value, our customers are really enjoying that, and it's got the attention of the third-party analysts at Forrester and Gartner. So of course, we love to talk about Creatio. We love to talk about low code, enabling our customers to change in the midst of turbulent times. Sebastian, if you've had a chance to have a sip of coffee, we've got questions. May I share some questions from the audience for you to address?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, and I'm just looking at these for the first time. I'm going to read them right from the chat here. Number one is, for life science companies, what do you see as the top need or the top priority of which low code can help? It's kind of along the lines of what we've been discussing.
Exactly. So for life science, definitely it's something around the digital engagement. So you know, the way they conduct, we spoke about some clinical study partnering with the hospitals and the clinics in order to put forward some project of working together. And so the digital interaction is becoming super important. So definitely that's one of the initiatives that needs to be put forward right now.
Awesome. One of many we talk about on a daily basis. Good answer. And I like this next question too. This person is asking, organizations typically have invested considerable amount of sums specialized in platforms and services for analytics and insight. Those platforms, they may not be going anywhere. So how might low code platform interoperate and augment these already in place platforms for analytics?
Yes, so it's a good question. So it's true that those analytic platforms, so the Power BI and the Cognos and the Business Object, and those are there. And yes, some have invested a lot of money into those. And the goal is not to get rid of, is to embed those. The ability of low code is not to replace all the time, but is to work with other systems as well. So that when we talk about integration, so for your analytic platform, the Creatio becomes one source. So where we can cross that reference. And also what it does is, for some feed of the data, because there's multiple feed, it could be that the BI tool will, or the analytic tool will already have that feed. If not, Creatio has the great ability to transform that feed and then being a source for this analytic platform. But they're working together, and even Creatio is an open platform, so you can go and connect your Creatio to your backend data warehouse, stuff like this, to bring it to the HCP profile and the customer profile as well. So they work really, really well together. So the money invested is not lost at all. It just serves as working and enriching the Creatio platform initiative.
Awesome. Yeah, I look at Creatio could be the bricks in your building, or it could be the mortar in between the bricks, gathering all the data together. So that was a good question. And this next question now is kind of a good follow-up to that previous one, they're saying, could you share a success story of implementing Creatio CRM in pharma? And then goes on to say, hey, I'm curious, can I manage events with your system? I'll let you address the events part, but may I share a quick success story that you and I both participated
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
So quick example, pharmaceutical company up in Sebastian's neck of the woods there, before Creatio, they have a call center essentially where people call and place orders all day long. So before Creatio, they had multiple screens in front of them. Every time they picked up the phone, they had to look at one screen to even see if this customer, their status, do they owe money? Are they outstanding in certain areas? Are they even able to collect an order? Then they had to look at another screen to perhaps look at the pricing for the orders. Then they had to look at another screen just to learn about the customer. They had multiple screens that really prolonged the necessity for these calls. So now with Creatio, they have one single screen where as soon as somebody calls, they have all their credit information, all the pricing information, all the order information. And then on top of that, the topic earlier of artificial intelligence. So this particular customer, in addition to consolidating screens and delivering a better experience for their customers, they also wanted to make more money. So with the use of artificial intelligence, Creatio now tells that operator on the phone, hey, if that customer bought this but did not buy that, recommend this. So Creatio is looking at the next best option to share, and by doing so, increasing the average sale amount. So Creatio has consolidated into one screen, minimizing the duration of these sales calls, delivering a better customer experience by also recommending additional products to make more money. Is that a good success story there, Sebastian?
It's a perfect story. It's a perfect story. And the multiple screen, that's what also sometimes the rep will have. On other pharma as well is they will have some Excel reports, some PDF they get from, they will go left and right to place an order is a good use case for Creatio. When you put that on the same platform, that's many success story on that side as well.
Yeah, and the person asked about events. I mean,
for sure,
it's kind of an open question there. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So we have a native CME module, continuous medication education. So that's native. So you have event attendees, invitation, and you have even registration to the event as well, online, offline. You have guest lists that you can print out. So it does the event management as well. For sure, there's a budget, and even you can manage some supplier for the event and some material as well. So if you need a projector, if it's a meal, you can. So there's a lot of things that Creatio does on the event side.
Indeed. These are great questions, guys. And look me up on LinkedIn if you want to learn more. We talk about this stuff all day long. Great questions. Here's another one. We've been focusing on pharmaceutical industry, but healthcare in general. They're saying, what benefits Creatio CRM offers for a better comprehension of hospitals, physicians, key accounts, and key opinion leader relationships? So
Yeah.
maybe expand on other areas of healthcare.
Absolutely right. Today was more pharma. I could go on for another hour just on the care in general, but you're absolutely right. So what we're saying, so the digital engagement goes not only in the pharma, but the healthcare as large. So once you have, your doctor, your influencer, your events in there, your omnichannel experience, it goes for a long way for all sorts of fields. So again, I can go for a long time, but I have practical example that we've done straight with. So here it's a public healthcare. So we're working with the government on putting together a platform on the healthcare. I don't have time to go to detail, but that's definitely it enables it. So Mike, did I cut or you cut? Yes. Perfect. Can you hear me, Mike? I'm sorry.
I can. I'm sorry. I didn't know if that was just me.
Yeah,
You're so far, you're so far north. Did we lose a signal there? Are you okay?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not
I'm
that
sorry. I may have been frozen.
No problem. No problem.
Is it time for another question?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't hear you now. I do apologize, everybody. It must have been the bandwidth on my side. I lost about 20 seconds, but I do hear you loud and clear. I apologize for the technical glitch. We have time for one more question. Do you have any thoughts now on how Creatio can be used for indirect marketing in the pharma industry?
For sure, for sure. So lots of use cases on that side. Okay, so it's tracking your influencer, micro profiling them, and I will be pleased to speak more about what's micro profiling, but micro profiling them in order of doing some soft marketing education to the influencers. So it's through a way of a digital engagement that it's really personalized, so it doesn't, even if there's a mindset of doing some marketing, it's not perceived as commercial marketing. It's perceived as, or it's in fact more an engagement than a marketing campaign.
Fantastic, interesting. Sebastian, we could carry this on for a few other hours. How's your calendar looking today?
Yeah, I love to do that. I can go on for that, but I think we want to be respectful of people's time. So
I know, you guys. We're at the top of the hour here. It's been such a fantastic presentation. Indeed, it's a topic that deserves more than an hour. So here at Creatio, we love to talk about digital transformation. We love to talk about low code, business process automation, CRM, the list goes on. Solutions Metrics is on the same page with their conversations. Please, if you'd like to learn more, you see some contact information here. Sebastian, is that a wrap? Did we cover as much as we could on this call?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, have a fantastic day and a fantastic rest of the week. Take care.